bleed green? Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go!
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go! Let's go! Go!
And a good Tuesday morning, Birds fans, and you Philly fans who now have new plans for tonight, hoping not to have to watch baseball. Oh, yeah, you do. First time ever in the history of the Philadelphia Phillies, they got a game 7 coming their way. We'll certainly be pulling for the Phillies, but we'll be talking about the Eagles for the next 2 hours here on Birds 365. John McMullen, Jody McDonald. Actual news, Johnny Mac, not just a Nick Sirianni recap. Why can't anybody else do the Tush Push like us type press gathering yesterday? He was going to come on and say the Eagles have made a big addition to the roster, except he didn't, huh?
No. Well, I mean, they couldn't announce it, so it's fine. But everybody knew it. He kind of winked and played along. So Kevin Byard is here, Philadelphia native, moved away when he was a teenager, went to Middle Tennessee State, the first ever Middle Tennessee State, all Middle Tennessee State back end with Reed Blankenship. Very good player. Yeah, I can't figure out the rest of this league sometimes. I mean, they just hand gifts to Howie Roseman. Oh, Howie's calling up. Let me give him a gift. These young gentlemen, I've said it for a while, they're an embarrassment. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. He got a 2-time All-Pro safety for basically $3 million because they already paid most of his salary. For a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, and Terrell Edmonds. We're going to have our old buddy Turron Davenport on, who covers the Titans. Now, look. They understand they're moving on from after the season and they're trying to get something back. But I do not understand. This is not the NBA. The NFL has proven time and time again, if you make good decisions, you can turn things around very, very, very quickly. Very quickly. If you keep all pro players. You got to keep your best players. He's only 30 years old. He turned 30 in August. Now, that's a dirty word in the NFL, but he's still playing at a very high level. I don't know. Do you have an idea? Because I don't know what these guys are doing, Jody. I don't know what these guys are doing.
I'm not here to tremendously defend the Titans general manager, because when I found out what the compensation was for Byard, I had to read it twice just to make sure I read it right the first time, because I couldn't believe that they couldn't get higher compensation for him. But unless the guy is a complete incompetent, and I don't know to be that to be the case, once the Titans make their decision, listen, we're not really, even though we're in what seems to be a winnable division, the Jags are already up to 5 wins, so they're going to be tough to catch. We're not winning 11 games, so we're not in the wild card mix. We have to admit to ourselves that this is just not going to be a playoff year for it. When they come to that decision, and I'm sure they did this week or maybe even the week before, you start to offer the player around the league. You go to any team that you think has any desire to upgrade its safety, and you try and build some leverage between a couple different competing teams for the services of the player that you're going to make available. So if you want to take a shot at the Tennessee general manager, you're well within your rights and probably very right.
Yeah, he already got
so.
one fired. Now he's going to get 2 fired. So,
but I'll add to it. Take your shot at the rest of the general managers around the league. How many teams would you say out there couldn't improve by getting a Kevin Byard right now? There's probably 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, playoff contenders certainly.
Yes. So none of them stepped up and put a better offer on the table than Howie Roseman. So shame on all of those general managers too. It's not just the Tennessee guy. It's the fact that other general managers aren't willing to part with a 5th or a 6th or a replacement.
Yeah, you need those. You need those 5th and 6th round picks. These guys are nuts, Jody. These guys are freaking nuts. I don't know how else. I've been talking about it for a while, and you have this sort of groupthink mindset. And it's interesting because I'm always amazed at groupthink people who think they're smarter than everybody else in the room, yet they think exactly the same as everybody else in the room. Oh, you got to get draft capital. You got to get J3 draft capital. Well, what are the odds that you get a 2-time Pro Bowl player in the 5th round or the 6th round? It might happen. You might get a Hall of Famer like Jason Kelce. I don't like those odds. You can always point to the outlier and say, yeah, well, tell me all the other Eagles 6th round picks and 5th round picks since Jason Kelce has got here. Then accumulate and add up the odds of that happening again. Yep. They ain't great. It comes down to the basketball, the hinky mentality. Since we're in Philadelphia, I hate to say that name, but I'm going to say it. You have this whole groupthink philosophy that if you're not first, you're last. And you're right. And I was watching Monday Night Football last night, Jody, and 100 times, I swear, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman doing the game, and they're great. I'm not one of those people. They're great at what they do. They must have mentioned 100 times, oh, Minnesota doesn't win this game, they might sell. And I'm thinking to myself, if you're that bad of an organization that you're making your decision to buy or sell at the trade deadline over 60 minutes of football, you might as well pack it in if you're making a decision. Now, I start to say that's just TV speak. That's not really how teams think. But I give teams too much credit. They might be dumber than Buck and Aikman. Oh, they might make their decision on 60 minutes of football. They might. And it's, Howie takes advantage of them, and Eagles fans are lucky to have him. And I joke around all the time. I said it yesterday. I'm old enough to remember when I got killed for saying Howie was a top 10 GM. I undersold him. He embarrasses these guys on the regular, and this is just another example of it. And Turron's, does a tremendous job, and I'm sure he's going to couch it as, oh, well, they were moving on, and you get what you can. Yeah, all right. I mean, I just don't agree with the philosophy. And the Eagles there's 32 teams. The Eagles are better than 24 of them just on philosophy alone. I swear to God, Jody, before they even accumulate anything, they're better than 24, about 3/4 of the league on philosophy.
I agree with you there. So I guess I'm playing a little devil's advocate here, but I kind of mean it. So if the best offer was the Philadelphia Eagles offer, if the general manager had done his due diligence and called and you and I could sit down and come up with a list of 10 teams that we could legitimately say, all right, if we give him Byard, it makes them a better team. They believe they're a playoff team, that we can have a realistic conversation with them. Let's say he made those 10 calls, and one, of course, of which was Eagles. And the best offer he had was the Philadelphia Eagle offer, which on paper looks wanting to you and I, that it isn't quite enough to get a guy like Byard's talent. Do you just keep the player?
I would. I'd let it play out because the player's too good.
Here's where I'll agree with you. We still have 8 more days until the trade deadline. And I don't think, now here's the one risk you take. Do you sit Byard next week? He never misses a game. That's one of the beauties of the player that the Eagles acquire. He plays every single game. He never gets hurt. He's tough as nails. Do you sit him next week? Do you wait till right before the trade deadline and think the desire is going to go up?
The Eagles went through this with Zach Ertz in a lot of ways, and they just played him and played him and played him, and when something happened, they traded him. And if he would have gotten hurt, he would have gotten hurt. You can't legislate that kind of stuff. And I'm sure, from Tennessee's perspective, I'm sure everything you're saying is true. They were going to move on anyway, so you might as well get as much as humanly possible, and waiting 8 days probably isn't going to matter that much. And that's sort of the philosophy of these morons. It's interesting because they contradict each other by their actions. And what I mean by that is, well, you have a 2-time Pro Bowl safety who's still playing at a high level. And by the way, he's a team captain for 5 years. Evidently, he's tremendous in the locker room as well. So you have this guy who's, called the mayor of the team, basically I don't want to say a Malcolm Jenkins type leader, but for them, and we'll ask Turron about that because I'm not there, but he's certainly a leader of the team. And, other teams don't value him either. So Howie wins in the margins. And look, there are things I don't like about Howie all the time. I say all the time, I would have kept TJ Edwards. I think he goes too far. And it's not like he's going to sit here and pay a 31-year-old safety $15 million. So he's got to, make something happen from a contract standpoint if he plays well, or he's probably just going to be a rent-a player if he doesn't play well, and they're going to move in a different direction. I'm not saying he does everything right, but when he's going to try to win a Super Bowl, as he obviously is here, he's going to take advantage of these goofballs in the margins because they say, well, the player's really, really good, and but I can't afford him, and I can't afford to pay on. And they talk to all their friends who have the same groupthink mentality. Oh, I can't do that. I can't give anything up for Kevin Byard. I can't give up a 5th and a 6th round pick for Kevin Byard. That's too valuable. I mean, everybody thinks the same, and they all think they're the smartest guys in the room. And, John Robinson already got fired, and, Rand Carthon, who's the GM now, son of Maurice Carthon. Good luck with this plan, because everybody's got the same thought process as you. So I always say, Jody, and you've heard me say this, when everybody's doing the same damn thing, you better be the best.
Yeah, you got to be the best at it. Here's one other question for Howie, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, which means you'll know the answer. The Eagles gave up 2 draft picks. Day 3 draft picks, later round draft picks. Good luck finding Jason Kelce in this upcoming draft picks. And Edmonds, and nice knowing you, Mr. Edmonds. Thanks for coming in and holding down the fort for 7 weeks. The fact that he's been replaced by a player who's better than him, he can't even worry about losing a guy like that. But now the Eagles get a little low on draft picks. We know they're going to get compensatory picks this offseason. Don't know when. It's not happening till after the season is over and done with. So you can't trade compensatory picks that you think you're going to get because you don't have them yet. So they're a little short on draft picks now, which to me basically takes Howie out of the trade deadline mix heading toward next Tuesday when the trade dedeadline hits.
Yeah, most likely, but he often gets people to take future picks as well. 2025. I believe there was even a 2026 at one point. It might have been for Swift, but I have to double check that. He gets people to take future picks as well. But you're right. You can't play.
You gotta be careful with that. You know who did that, John? the Rams, and they won the Super Bowl. And if Howie turns it into a Super Bowl, yeah, it'd be good. Then we'd have a parade and everybody would have a party here in Philadelphia. The Rams kind of fell off the end of the earth as soon as they won the Super Bowl. So that if you do that, you start trading future picks, because a future pick, the further years you get away, the higher the round you got to give up. Every year that you move off moves that pick up at least a round in value. So when you do start talking about trading futures, it can get a little expensive. You can pay an extra price down the road. You think Howie Roseman's going to go there?
No, I don't think. I mean, this is his trade deadline deal. If he does anything else, it's going to be minor in more of the Albert O category, not something that's not that relevant. But yeah, I mean, but from the draft pick, and you're right, people are going to go insane, and we'll talk about that in the off season constantly because the draft becomes the be all end all. But they're trying to win a Super Bowl. And while, yeah, you can't trade compensatory picks, he knows he has those compensatory picks. So what he can do is trade the picks he does have because he knows they're coming.
But they don't have many picks left.
Well, 2023, I'm just looking at 2024. I'm just looking it up. So they have their own pick in the first round, their own pick in the second round. They have a Saints pick in the second round. They have a projected compensatory pick in the third round.
Can't trade it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about trading it. I'm saying he traded it because he knows he's got the compensatory picks.
Right.
Coming.
But I'm talking about trading, making it. If there's another deal to be made,
he's not going to make another deal. What I mean,
so you think he's done? This is it.
Again, if he does something else, it's going to be minor, and it's not even going to be, maybe trading space 2 years down the road or moving up in a lower round, like an Albert O pick. As I said, an Albert O trade, a meaningless trade. This is the splash. There's not another splash coming. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So for those, that's what the Eagles are going to have, 8 picks next year, 2024. Now, the 4 of them are compensatory. But that's what they're going to have.
They get 8 picks, 2 1s, and a 1 and 2 2s.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
You doubt how he's giving up either of those 2 because you don't think there's a splash trade left.
No.
So realistically, they've got 1 pick that they could trade this upcoming year if they're going to do something between now and the trade deadline.
Yeah, but this is. I mean, don't get greedy, people.
I'm just asking. Because how he likes to wheel and deal. He's listening to John McMullen put him on a pedestal here, that he takes advantage of all these other fools around the National Football League. Yeah. Why wouldn't you keep making calls?
Yeah, well, they
don't have any bullets left in the gun, is my point. He's kind of out of picks at this stage. I'm good. The Eagles are good. They made a major acquisition yesterday, and Howie fleeced another team, the Tennessee Titans. All I'm pointing out is, for those who are going to get greedy and go,
for those who are going to get greedy,
we really use a better slot corner and upgrade of Bradley Roby. He's old. He's hurt.
They got Eli Ricks.
Get a better slot corner. Howie, go get one. Howie's out of bullets.
My old buddy Mike Kay thinks Eli Ricks is going to make Darius Slay worried for his job. So they're evidently fine at slot corner.
We've officially acknowledged Eli Ricks as a starting level slot corner in the league.
No, I'm being completely facetious. That is Bradley Roby's job when he's healthy, and even more so, probably Josiah Scott if not. But yeah, I mean, you can't do everything. I mean, for the greedy people, I hear what you're saying, but I mean, all I can say to them is stop being a glutton. You just got a 2 bowl.
Oh, there are Eagle fans out there that fall into that glutton category.
Oh, I
know it. I know it. That's some people want every single trade to be the knockdown, drop dead winner that Howie Roseman made yesterday, and they will expect more. I'm sorry, if Bradley Roby makes the Pro Bowl as a slot cornerback this year, I'll eat my hat. Okay. He came in, they put him in for as many plays as they thought they could put him in without getting him hurt. And then the next week they put him in and he gets hurt.
Yeah,
So
I'm not saying
I'm not
Bradley
ready to
Roby.
even think Bradley Roby is a given at the slot corner.
I'm saying he's their best available option, is what I'm saying. You can't have a star at every player. I know everybody, every position. I know everybody wants that. And the Eagles came probably as close as humanly possible on offense last year. Yeah, you can't have an all-pro at every stinking position. So I would say, you know, on paper, the rest of the league keeps giving the Eagles gifts, and I don't understand it. But Eagles fans should be happy with it. And San Francisco loses, they got a leg up again. I think 25 straight weeks is what. Think about that. 25 straight weeks. Per Reuben Frank, the Eagles have been either tied for the best record or had the best record. Yeah, I don't know what the rest of this league is doing because it's all parity driven, except for very few teams. And that list of teams keeps shrinking because these GMs keep making bad decisions.
I'm trying to add up Ruben's number. When does that 25-week start? After the Super Bowl?
No,
regular
before
season only.
regular season. Only.
Oh, okay. Because when they kind of lost Kansas City, up until that point, they were tied for the best record with the Chiefs. When they lost the Super Bowl, that kind of gave the Chiefs the best record. So just regular season is what you're saying. All right.
Yeah.
Hi, he's McMullen. I'm McDonald. You got Mac here on Birds 365. We hope to punch up Turron Davenport from ESPN, ESPN Nation, ESPN Radio. He covers the Titans for ESPN. He's going to join us next. He's going to be able to give us some great insight to the strong safety that the Eagles acquired yesterday. Yes, the Middle Tennessee State pairing that will be taking over at safety for the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Blue Raiders show. Yeah. The Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders.
I give you a key question since you know they're the Blue Raiders. Where is Middle Tennessee State located?
I believe, and this is all, I believe it's Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Murfreesboro?
I have not. Am I right? I don't.
Yes, you are right. And usually when you think Murph, it's M-U-R-P-H. No, M-U-R-F. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Yeah. I couldn't find it with a map, but the Eagles starting safeties have both come out of Murfreesboro and will be out there for the Birds on Sunday. All right, coming up next, Turron Davenport going to talk some Kevin Byard with us here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed the most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Mac here with you on Birds 365. Just tuning in, Eagles made a major addition yesterday, picking up Kevin Byard in a deal with the Tennessee Titans. Joining us is a guy who knows the newest Eagle quite well. He's been covering him for the last several years down there in Tennessee. Our buddy Turron Davenport from ESPN joins us here on Birds 365. Turron, I saw your tweet shortly after the trade was announced that you lost a good guy in the locker room, a guy that you could talk to and have a face-to-face, heart-to-heart, hang with you after a game, win or lose. How big a presence is Byard in a team's locker room that you've been able to witness the last couple of years?
Yeah, Kevin Byard was a huge presence in the locker room. He's somebody where you would see him, they would have 5 minutes before it's time to go out to practice. And, open locker room, you got about 45 minutes or so to talk to the players. And he'll be one of the first ones that people go to, and he would field scrums at his locker, like in waves. And he just would stand there and just eat it all up and just continue to answer the same question 3 or 4 times. Then after that, if you have a question, you could always go over to him, hey, KB, what did you see on this play? And he was really good from that perspective as far as just always making sure. In fact, we have an award here, the PFWA. You have your good guy award for each locker room, and he won the first good guy award. We had Eddie George come in and present it to him. So that just tells you right there.
Turron, good seeing you. First of all,
sir.
I get and tell me if I'm wrong here, because you were here covering Malcolm Jenkins. I get a Malcolm Jenkins vibe with Byard as far as a team leader. I believe 5-time captain. What am I missing here? Guy makes plays. He's durable. I get the fact that Tennessee doesn't think they're ready to compete. I get the fact that he's 30. I get the fact that he's expensive. But boy, I mean, from our perspective here in Philadelphia, we're like, Howie did it again. Why is Rand Carthon giving the Eagles a gift like Kevin Byard?
Well, this is something that kind of came up in the offseason about a $19 million safety. And the team just, they're not going to swallow that salary next year. So it's something that they approached him about taking a pay cut, and he initially balked at it and then did. And this is a team that doesn't have, they only had 6 draft picks. So now, this boosts them up to 8. They're rebuilding. They really like, if you remember a few years ago, Elijah Molden coming out of Washington, they like him. Edmonds, we'll see what he has, Terrell Edmonds, coming in. But I think when you look at the organization, they're turning the corner and they're going towards a youth movement. And that's pretty much what it is. They have another young safety that they like out of Western Kentucky. He actually played linebacker last year. His name is Matthew Jackson. He's another one that they really like. So there's a bunch of guys in that mix, young safeties. Monty Hooker is obviously a top-level safety who will kind of take over as the captain of that secondary.
John made a comparison for you, Turron, to Malcolm Jenkins. Leadership role. The thing that jumps out to me about Byard, which is very Malcolm-like, is he never leaves the field. And now Malcolm used to go above and beyond and play special teams too. He'd play like basically every snap that wasn't offensive. But he never got hurt, and Byard never gets hurt either. How tough a player is he?
Yeah, KB is really tough. He played 127 games for this organization. And this is a team that over the last couple of years have probably been more injured than anyone else. In fact, 2 years ago, they set the record for most players rostered on game day, and they came close to that last year. So when you look at KB, not only does he play every game, but you look at snap counts, right? I like to post those after the game using next-gen stats, and this guy is always the 97 to 100% of the snaps. So he's ultra durable. He has a way of just, staying healthy. His routine is superb. He's over the last couple of years changed his diet and really slimmed down and just, became more deer-like as far as his build is concerned. And he's still a good player. He may not get the buku interceptions that he used to, but he's still a very good player.
Any negatives that descending as a player? Have you seen anything that says, all right, he not quite what he once was? We're talking about a former NFL interception leader. We're talking about a guy with 27 career interceptions. He hasn't gotten one this year. Has the coverage skills declined at all?
Yeah, and those 27 interceptions, those are third most in the league since he's joined the NFL, behind Justin Simmons and Xavier Howard. So that just puts in perspective where he is. I would say his man coverage skills are not the same as they once were, whereas before you could drop him down in the box, and if you want to man up with one of those slot receivers, you could do that, right? But I don't think that that's something that I would do. And he doesn't match up as well against tight ends, right? Obviously, the Eagles, their big rival in the NFC is going to be, the 49ers. I would like to see that matchup between he and George Kittle. That'll be a good one. Or if the Lions come to town, he and Hawkinson. They used to be where that's the guy that he would be the tight end stopper. Look, we're going to man coverage, and I want you to cover their tight end, KB. That would be the mindset that they would have. And I don't know that I take that still, but he's still a very smart player, very sound tackler. And the Malcolm Jenkins comparison is good on and off the field, to be honest with you, because like Malcolm, he's a guy that has kind of lost a step a bit, but is still a very effective player, just like Jenkins was towards the end of his career.
Turron, one of the things that annoys my partner most is the amount of teams in the National Football League that play some form of a Fangio defense, that everybody plays a form of the
too much, Turron. There's too much, man.
Yeah.
How close would you describe the Titans defense that they played the first 6 games of this year as a Fangio type style defense? Is that what they're playing? Is that what would play to Byard's strength? Is he going to fit in what the Eagles have been looking to do? Because they got a Fangio style defense. Give credit to their new defense coordinator, Sean Desai. Looks like he varies a little bit more than the previous guy did, Jonathan Gannon, but it's still Fangio-like at the core. What kind of defense was Tennessee playing? How does it play to Byard's strengths?
Yeah, Tennessee, a lot of zone. You see cover 2, cover 4. Sometimes they combo it to, what you call cover 6. So there's different things that they do. Kevin Byard is a football player. He's going to fit in whatever scheme, and you look at, so you look at, whether it's zone man, he's going to be fine for whoever employs him. And, Sean Desai is a really good coach, and I know that he's going to make sure that he puts him in position. And I tell you, you look at that touchdown that Tyreek Hill had against the Eagles on Sunday. I think Kevin Byard is over top. And gets there and breaks that pass up, but if not, picks it off. And that's not to, take a shot at Terrell Edmonds at all, but I think Byard is there in position to make a play on the ball.
He's very versatile. Looking at his snap counts, Turron, he's played in the slot. He can play either safety position. It's kind of going away anyway. In many of these defenses, they're interchangeable, but to have sort of that mirrored ability. The Eagles have lost so many slot corners. I don't know if you're paying attention, but
yes,
I mean, they've been just rolling guys through trying to find something. Is he the type of guy who can play safety and then move down to the slot when you need him and toggle back and forth and not have much of a hiccup like C.J. Gardner-Johnson did last year for them?
You can do that, but I just don't know that I would use man coverage. I wouldn't use him in the slot in man coverage. It's again, it's so much like Malcolm Jenkins, where okay, yeah, you could drop him down there, you could play zone, or you could blitz him, but I don't suggest putting him in man against one of those slot receivers or anything like that.
Cooper Kupp. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. Let somebody else get cooked, not him.
That's the one position where the Eagles still, John and I were just talking about, could use an upgrade, but I think this is their big move between now and the trade deadline. Unless Tennessee has another gift they want to give to the Eagles, is there another player that's going to get moved between now and the trade deadline from the Titans, Turron?
I mean,
and if so, what position is that going to be?
There's talk about Derrick Henry. We'll see. That's one. They really like Tajay Spears, the rookie running back out of Tulane, but
yeah,
they have both of those guys on the field at the same time an awful lot. So I don't know. We'll see if Derrick Henry. Danico Autry is a name that I would watch. He's an outstanding inside-outside pass. In fact, he could play, anywhere from 0 to 7, even if you want to go wide 9 and let him stand up and rush the passer from, a wide alignment. So he's somebody else. He's in the final year of his deal. Really good player. I think he has 4 sacks, I want to say. So yeah. I can see him being moved.
A lot of, Philadelphia, Turron, they'll spike the football. So, how he got A.J. Brown, poor John Robinson. I think it had more to do with ownership, but you would know better than me. Either way, it doesn't look good. And now they get Kevin Byard coming home. Grew up in Philly before he moved as a teenager. Seems like a natural fit. Rand Carthon, I assume, has a bit of rope because he's relatively new. And this league, it always starts with quarterback, and Ryan Tannehill's not going to be the future. Do they believe in Malik Willis or Will Levis? They got 2 kind of prospects. Do they believe in either of those guys?
Well, Malik Willis will probably get the start against the Falcons with Tannehill still being out. I don't know that they believe in Malik Willis, and honestly, I don't know that they should, because he has a tendency to hold on to the football. He will turn it over as well, just trying to do too much. So it's just with this offensive line, the way things are going, there's going to be a hesitance to put Will Levis out there because you can't really get a true look at him. And, you could shell shock like David Carr syndrome. So you got to be careful. You got to walk that fine line. But I do think Willis will be the quarterback, and he'll have a short leash. And if things go completely wrong, then they'll put Levis in there. That's the way I look at it.
All right. Johnny asked you about a couple of guys coming from Tennessee ending up in Philadelphia.
Yeah, by the way, AJ's pretty good, Turron.
Yeah, I told you, man. AJ is something special.
He's looked okay, and even though it wasn't a direct trade, Zach Cunningham is also playing some decent linebacker for the Eagles. So hey, thank you for moving on from him too on that one. Let me talk about one who went the other way. How about Johnny's favorite, Dillard at tackle? Got good money to go down there and play at Tennessee. Left the Eagles. How's he doing?
Not going well.
Yeah, he's struggled. For me, I don't know that he has the makeup to be a dominant offensive lineman. Even if it's not an outwardly alpha type like Jason Peters.
Yeah.
You have that quiet confidence like Jordan Mailata. You know what I mean? I don't see that with him. It's just always, anytime you talk to him, there's always like, I don't know. It's just, he struggled, right? And right from the bat, Arden Key in training camp gave him a lot of work. And we're like, okay, well, that's Arden Key. You know, that's what I'm thinking to myself. That's Arden Key. Like he's a pretty solid player. And then it just rolled into the season. And in fact, he gave up the sack to Justin Madubuike. And that sack is actually what hurt Ryan Tannehill. Ooh. And that was the last snap that Dillard played. Yeah, that was the last snap that Dillard played. And they brought in Nicholas Petit-Frere. He came in at left tackle, and he played the rest of the game. And they actually got a little better. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's a shame. I think you're right. If you go back to, I think you were gone by that point, right? When Andre was a rookie.
Yeah, you talking about the fight with
the fight, and one of the Inquirer photographers got a picture where it looked like he was crying, and that did not go over well. So, he's got tremendous talent. He's an unbelievable athlete,
right?
And the Eagles wanted him to be the starting left tackle. I mean, they gave him every opportunity.
I remember. I remember. I remember. I followed and saw, but Mailata was just too good.
Well, Mailata is quite the story. But people, and rightfully so, because Jeff Stoutland, and if he's not the best offensive line coach in football, he's on the very short list of guys. And if he can't get stuff out of you, maybe I should have paid more attention to that. Maybe Tennessee, because they gave him quite a contract as well.
Well, they could get out of it. It's essentially a 1-year deal. He'll probably be gone after this season.
Yeah. It's a shame. But, overall, now, obviously, right now, they're in last place in the AFC South. Jacksonville looks like the class of that division.
Mm-hmm.
Is this pretty much an acknowledgement that, all right, we're tearing this thing down, we're going to rebuild?
Well, that's going to be the big question for Mike Vrabel today. Getting ready to go over to Tennessee State's football team practice, and then from there I'm going over to the facility, and we have Vrabel speaking today. So that's really the question. You know what I mean? It's how do you tell your guys that you're not giving up after trading one of the team captains?
Yeah.
Is Vrabel there for the long run?
I think so. Yeah, I think he is. There was some speculation that he could go to New England to replace Belichick, but I don't think that's happening. Vrabel and Rand Carthon, they're what they call a collaboration, and I think that's going to be the combo for years to come.
At T Davenport _NFL. Make sure you follow Turron, longtime Eagles fans. Remember him covering this team. Did a tremendous job doing a great job for ESPN down in Nashville. It's always good to see you, Turron. I will leave it. I will leave it here with you. And one more question about your wheelhouse now, the Titans and Mike Vrabel. Because when you have that changeover in power, and it was Mike Vrabel, John Robinson, usually, and we went through it here in Philadelphia, it can work. Howie's been here over multiple coaches, but you tend to have that power, that give and take. Who's in charge in Tennessee? Who's got more pull, Vrabel or the GM Rand Carthon?
Well, that's the thing that's intriguing, because you really don't know. Ultimately, the decision is up to Amy Adams Strunk, the controlling owner, but they're so focused on collaboration, it's not clear who has more pull. I think Andre Dillard's a good example, whereas I don't think he's a Vrabel guy, but they brought him in and he got every chance to start. But then you have other guys like Jack Gibbons, who was an undrafted free agent 2 years ago, and he's a starting inside linebacker. So it's give and take. There's examples of where you can point to and say, hey, that's Mike Vrabel all over that, or hey, that's Rand Carthon all over that. Azeez Al-Shire, Arden Key, connections, right, to Rand Carthon from 49ers days. So there's give and take, honestly.
All right, last thing for me, Turron, two-part question, and one I'm going to give my partner a helping hand here. How far from your house, where you're sitting right now, from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yeah, I heard you talking about that. So Kevin Byard, they gave him the key to the city. They call him the mayor of Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
He got a key. I was at his camp when he got the key.
Yeah.
So that's about with traffic. Like if I were to go right now, it'd probably be about 45 minutes.
Yeah,
you know, it's kind of like going from Philly to Westchester. It's kind of like that.
Okay. Thank you for translating.
Yeah.
Made it very easy for the entire Delaware Valley to understand.
There you go.
Good job out of you. And here's the key. So McMullen can ingratiate himself when he sees Byard in the locker room. Where's the best eats in Murfreesboro? If you're going out to get a good meal in Murfreesboro, where are you going? So John can go to Kevin and go, hey, Kevin, when was the last time we were at blank? Fill in the blank. Give me the best place to eat in Murfreesboro.
I can't help you on that one.
Man.
I don't go to Murfreesboro.
But I thought you were a foodie. I thought you know the best place to eat.
I am a foodie, but just Murfreesboro. See, I stay within my 25-minute radius, man.
You go in, see Kevin Byard, get a key, and get the hell out, huh?
There's plenty of good places to eat in Nashville. So
exactly. One thing you can do, ask him about number 20, how he wore number 20 at Murfreesboro, at MTSU. That's his number retired. His number was retired, and he's a big Brian Dawkins and Ed Reed fan. But Troy Polamalu was his favorite safety. So you can ask him about, wearing number 20 and beat up.
I appreciate that, Turron.
No problem.
And Reed Blankenship followed him. He replaced Kevin Byard.
Blankenship's a player.
You were talking about Iowa tight ends, George Kittle, T.J. Hawkinson last night, squaring off on Monday Night Football. Iowa's tight end we might have to call Middle Tennessee State safety U because Reed Blankenship can play. I don't know if you're paying attention, but he
I pay attention to Blankenship. He was hurt for a bit, but he's a player. I saw him play MTSU versus Charlotte. I saw him play in person. Yeah, solid player.
We've got two now Blue Raider safeties in Philadelphia, and we expect them to play well. We always expect you to bring info when you join us, Turron, and you've once again delivered. Thank you very much for and go find out what the best place to eat is in Murfreesboro. You got to ride to Murfreesboro.
You got 9 million restaurants in Nashville to get through, man.
Yeah.
Play a little catch up.
Thanks,
Turron. Great stuff. Appreciate you coming on board.
Sure.
Thanks, brother.
No doubt. Appreciate you guys.
Turron Davenport, ESPN reporter for the Tennessee Titans, here with us on Birds 365. All right, so you can't go to the restaurant. You got to go down the why does he wear the number 20 route when you talk to him about
the mayor of Murfreesboro. Yeah. Why didn't Reed get that title? Yeah, Reed. Kevin was only a 4-year starter. Reed was a 5-year starter.
Yeah, and apparently the elections, if you're elected mayor, you get a 10-year run. So the office wasn't open yet for Reed. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. You got the Mac guys are on Birds 365. Come back, talk a little bit more. We haven't even gotten into what Nick Sirianni said. He didn't say anything about the new safety he was getting his hands on, even though everybody there seemed to know that it had happened. We will talk some Nick Sirianni when we come back here on Birds 365.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grosinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossener is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got Joey McDonald and John McMullen, a.k.a. Mac and Mac, here with Young Birds 365. We thank Turron Davenport for jumping in with us, ESPN reporter on the Titans. Gave us a good read on where Byard is. And, again, given Howie credit for picking the pocket of another general manager, the Eagles upgraded this position in a season where they're going for the Super Bowl. You just have to give the general manager a ton of credit. But one of the things I always like to add to the mix is, how's he going to fit? It's really easy to go, well, it's not easy, but it's your job, and you got to focus on talent and abilities on the field. That's why you make deals like this, is to upgrade the level of the talent of the player you have. But sometimes it can be a little bit of a juggling act to fit a personality into a locker room. They took a shot last year at safety when they brought C.J. Gardner in. They knew how good a player he was, but they also knew he was a little high maintenance, that he was a guy who was not afraid to speak his mind and be outspoken and didn't always see things eye to eye with his teammates or his coaches. Now, he played well enough, and I think Howie will tell you that he'd make the same deal over again 20 times. But I do think that helped to contribute to the fact that C.J. Gardner is not back here, and was let go as a free agent at the end of the season. Seems to me like Byard is going to be a perfect fit in this locker room, Johnny Mac.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are no doubts about him as a person, as a leader, as a locker room guy. This is one of those where you might have to create another captaincy because he's going to win over people so quickly. Everything I hear about Kevin Byard is just good from that perspective. Like I said, he's a 5-time team captain for Tennessee. I mean, yeah, that people wondering about that can turn the page right now. He's going to fit in seamlessly. Already everybody's, he knows AJ, obviously. Slay's excited to play with him. Yeah, I mean, he's got a big reputation around the league. This is like I said back at the start of the show. This is unbelievable to me that people keep handing this stuff to the Eagles. Maybe give Rand Carthon a Super Bowl ring after the season. I don't know, but I go back to the draft with Jalen Carter. I said the same thing. I don't get this league. I don't get it. Everybody's, we can't win the Super Bowl. Let's get rid of all our good players. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, Jody. We talked about it with Minnesota, 13 wins. Now, if you ask me, were they a Super Bowl contender last year? I said consistently, no, they are not. But it's hard to win 13 games. That means they had a lot of good players, even though they had some bounces go their way last year, and the projected downturn has happened this year. It doesn't make sense what they did in the offseason. And that, to me, becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And they won last night, but they're a bad team. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think the same is true with half of the rest of the league. Well, you think you stink, so you're going to stink. It's common sense to me. And if you want to be an also-ran, the Eagles are going to take advantage of you. And they've done it pretty consistently.
Let me ask you a Minnesota question, because that was a surprising and impressive win to me. I took a Viking call this weekend on my CBS Sports radio show, and the guy guaranteed that the Vikings are winning that division, not the Lions. And I was like, okay, I get it. You're a Viking fan. More power to you. Stick with your squad. But he was kind of outspoken about how much a lock it was that Minnesota was winning that division. I just kind of rolled my eyes. Not that you can pick up on that on the radio, but I did. And damn it, they didn't go out and beat the 49ers last night. Here's the one thing I didn't understand about what the Vikings did this offseason. You're locked into Cousins for another year. You not only gave him guaranteed money, but you gave him a no-trade clause in his contract. So you've got to be able to sniff that out ahead of time. Listen, if it's not going to work here, Kurt, and it's kind of tough to do after a season that you went 13-4 to go, listen, we might be thinking about breaking it down. But if you make that decision, and they did move on from several of their star players at other positions, you have to have a feel that your quarterback is going to fit that mold as well. They still got Kirk Cousins, and yeah, they won last night, but I still don't think they're getting anywhere near the playoffs. How do you not find out? If you're going to take it down, you got to take it down. What does Kirk Cousins playing quarterback get you? A win on Monday night against the 49ers? Whoopee. If they're 8-9 at the end of the season, what did they really accomplish? Don't you need to get your quarterback fixed first, settled first, make your decision on him before you do anything else leading into an offseason?
Yeah, well, that's why I bring up that team quite a bit, because nothing they do makes sense. That's my whole point with these young GMs. None of it makes sense. If you're tearing it down, the last thing you want is a 35-year-old quarterback who's really good. And we constantly talk about, and I hope people watch Monday Night Football. He played pretty well on prime time.
Didn't look like prime time Kurt. What he usually looks at.
That's about as strong as a quarterback game you're going to see. Especially when it comes to downfield throwing. He was unbelievable.
Did you see the one? You saw the one that he basically threw a pick, and his wide receiver bailed him out by pulling the ball away from the DB on San Francisco. I'm surprised the announcers didn't go, oh, that throws to the back shoulder. When in doubt, guy doesn't lead a guy enough. They immediately say it's a back shoulder throw.
That was
a bad throw is what it was, and it turned into a 60-yard touchdown.
Yeah, that was end of half. But also Addison, it was ironic because Addison, who had a great game, is a good young receiver, good rookie receiver. He got one stolen from him early in the game that was an interception. Same player, Ward on Addison. Addison should have caught the first one, and Ward took it away from him. And then Ward should have caught the second one, and Addison took it away from him. So it was a weird game. But overall, if you're watching that game and you can't admit to yourself, I mean, especially in the modern NFL where everything is thrown at the line of scrimmage, I forget that they put it up at some point. He was 8 of 9 or 8. It might have been 8 of 8 that throws over 10 yards down the field. Now you pointed out the one where he got a little lucky. Well, there's 7 other ones where everybody else is throwing.
Yeah, really good game.
we happened to be talking about accuracy yesterday, and I mentioned Kirk. There are not a lot of quarterbacks in the modern game who can throw the football down the field like he can if he's clean. Their offensive line played well, which is not typical either. Well, the tackles are good, but overall, though, getting back to the GM point, nothing they do makes sense. Nothing. Chicago, I talk about a lot. Nothing they do makes sense. Tennessee doesn't make any sense. But they're all the smartest guys in the room. I can't explain it anymore.
At least
I generally
at least Ryan Pohl signed your guy, TJ Edwards. Can't say you got them all wrong. You and I both pretty big TJ fans.
No, it's not about individual decisions because good players are good players. And Tremaine Edmonds, I always have to collect myself getting Tremaine and Terrell mixed up, is a very good player. On an individual sense. But again, the larger thought process of spending $100 million on off-ball linebackers doesn't make sense. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. The long pictures. Individuals, if you look at Minnesota, individual players, you could say, oh, they made a good decision here. They made a good decision. Addison, that's a good pick. That looks like it's going to be a good player if he's not driving 140 down the highway as he was in the preseason. But he looks really talented, really gifted. That individual decision, you get some right, you get some wrong. But the larger picture, I mean, like I said, the Eagles beat 3/4 of this league before they even make a personnel decision, just from their foundational structure and foundational beliefs. They beat 3/4 of these teams before they even start talking about players. I truly believe that.
As do I. Howie Roseman plays the GM game probably better than anybody. Not as good for sure, and maybe better than anybody in the National Football League. And this is a strong suit of his. It's been a while since. At any time, do you think since the Super Bowl, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, do you think the Eagles have taken a step back as far as player acquisition goes and said, yeah, we need to move a piece that doesn't fit with us anymore and trading off for draft assets? It's been a while since Howie had to fill that role because if you're a general manager, you do it long enough. And Howie's now been one of the longer tenured GMs in the National Football League. You got to be able to do it both ways. You got to be able to step forward and go for it. You got to be able to know and acknowledge, all right, it's not happening this upcoming year. Let's try and fortify the back end. How often has Howie really been asked to do that since they had the parade?
Well, they've been pretty consistent in Howie 2.0. I think he learned a lot from his, and that's part of the. I often talk about as well. Jeffrey Lurie's a big part of this as well because, he should have never. The biggest mistake Jeffrey Lurie had in his ownership, and he knows it, is giving the power to Chip Kelly. But while I say that, if that doesn't happen, maybe Howie doesn't reassess what he was doing wrong. And maybe he doesn't evolve to the point where he is today. So it's kind of hard to understand the butterfly effect there, but it worked out. But Howie made a lot of Howie 1.0 wasn't a great GM. Howie 2.0 was a great GM. So he learned from his mistakes. And part of the reasons while I kill, and I will continue to kill these young GMs because they make horrible decisions, part of it is they don't have the time to learn from those horrible decisions and correct them and get their own sort of 2.0 evolution. And we'll never know because guys get fired. So Howie has this long leash. I've talked about this a lot. He can make mistakes. Rand Carthon, He's got a little bit of time because he's new, but these mistakes start piling up. And the reason I brought up Malik Willis and Will Levis to Turron was, he's going to get tied to his quarterback decision. And if he makes the wrong decision there, out the door. Ryan Poles, he's already out the door. He don't know it. He probably doesn't know it. He probably doesn't think it. He's already done. Quessy that we just talked about, he's 50-50, but he's not trending in a positive direction. All these guys
last night, it might have been 45-55 before last night. All of a sudden,
that's why.
And I know you hate it, John, but this is the reality in the National Football League. One game does mean a lot. In Major League Baseball, it means nothing. It's 162 games. Oh, my God. Did you see them win last night? Who cares? It's one of 162. NFL, it's only one of 17. It actually does.
Well, it does mean a lot, but it especially to people like you and me who have to talk about it a lot, it means a lot. It means a lot. But if it means a lot to an organization, like I was talking about Joe Buck and Troy Aikman saying, well, the Vikings might sell if they lose this game. And they might buy if they win this game. If that's true, and I don't believe it is true, but if that's true, you're a bad organization. If you're making decisions on one football game where, by the way, Trent Williams isn't playing, Deebo Samuel isn't playing, guess what? If they're out there, the 49ers probably win by 3 touchdowns, but everybody's got injuries. I'm not saying Minnesota doesn't have Justin Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody's got injuries. I'm not disparaging the win by any stretch of the imagination. But what I'm trying to say is if you're a decision maker and you are acting like that, typically I dismiss it. I say, well, that's not true. And that, as I said, that's TV speak. But man, with some of these guys, I don't know if it is. I mean, yeah, man, there's a lot of bad GMs in this league.
Well, maybe the Titans just got taken advantage of again by Howie Roseman. All right, let me ask you this. And for those of you who are streaming in, thank you very much. Feel free to attack me on the stream after I go here with
this. They will.
Oh, I know they will, because they're not gonna this is one of your typical Jody Mack hypotheticals that a good percentage of our fans can't stand. You brought this up yesterday. You used a specific word to describe the Eagles head coach, and that was Nick Sirianni as a heel. So you and I are both wrestling fans, so I know exactly what you mean when you call Nick Sirianni a heel. And he does. I agree with you. He's not afraid to play the heel role when he thinks it's advantageous for him or when he really feels like it, when he's flexing a little bit. I can go ahead and play the heel because, yeah, I'm one of 2 teams in the National Football League who only have 1 loss. Which, oh, by the way, we're 7 weeks in. Who are the 2 6-1 teams? Oh, the 2 teams in the Super Bowl from last year, the Chiefs and the Eagles. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. But Sirianni will from time to time play the heel, play the clown a little bit. And it probably doesn't go over well with other teams, other towns in the National Football League. Goes over real well here in Philadelphia. And Nick knows his audience. Nick knows who he's playing to, but he's also got to be bright enough to know that he's playing to the rest of the National Football League. A couple weeks ago, the head coach of the New York Jets took some grief because he mentioned when the Eagles go into the brotherly shove, the cheek sneak, the tush push, that part of his players' responsibility is going to be to give Jalen Hurts 11 kisses. And people here in Philadelphia got into an uproar about that. How dare you? How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you advocate physicality in a physical game?
Yeah.
How dare you?
What bothered me more about Salah was after the game, and it wasn't even all, it was partially ego related. I'm listening to the post-game show, get in the car, get out of the parking lot before massive, and already heading down the turnpike. And I got the Jet post-game show on, and Salah had the nerve to say, and we played a gauntlet of quarterbacks
Yeah,
so far.
that was a
And we've embarrassed every one of them.
every one of them. Every one of them.
Hello, Dak Prescott went up and down the field against the Jets. Yeah, they got the better of Jalen Hurts. They played some good games against some good quarterbacks this year, but not every one of them there, Coach. He got a little caught up in his emotion of the win of the game, and he said something foolish. And, oh, by the way, he walked it back the next day and said, yeah, maybe I overstated that a little bit. But I understood what Saleh was saying about the 11 kisses. And Nick Sirianni playing the heel role is going to get more people, if they're smart enough to not say it in front of a TV camera or a microphone. They might very well be saying it during the week when they're prepping for the Philadelphia Eagles. Does Nick playing the heel put more of a target on Jalen Hurts?
No.
You don't think so, huh?
No. He's already got a target on him. He's a quarterback in the NFL. No, I don't. I think that's more of a, when I say heel, it's more of a fan base thing. Like, he's disliked by the fan base. The players, other fan bases, not his fan base,
right?
Because of the way he acts, they can't stand him. He's a little bit over the top and all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. When it comes to players, I mean, players are, there's two kinds of players. Most of them have tremendous respect for each other because they know how dangerous the game is. And they want to be physical, but they don't want to be dirty. And then there's the occasional guy who's just a crazy, old school, violent person who just wants to hit people. But quarterbacks always, the whole goal of defense is, and it becomes less easy to do it every year in this league because they try to protect the quarterbacks. They always want to beat up the quarterback. Always. Every single game, they want to beat up the quarterback. Every defense. So I don't think that has any added effect to Jalen Hurts other than, people understand they got to give him 11 kisses every day. Robert Saleh just happened to speak it where typically most coaches don't. But, if you want to go back to Greg Williams taking shots at Brett Favre and get suspended for it, or go way back to Buddy Ryan and a body bag, it's not like that anymore. But behind the scenes, there's a lot more paid to physicality than they do it in front of the cameras, because part of it's PR now. You don't want to let on that you're trying to really stick people. But players are still trying to do that, defensive players. But I don't think it has any added effect.
All right, so let me play it this way then. Commanders coming to town this week, and the Eagles are a better team than them. They've already beaten them once by the hair on their chin, as a matter of fact, needing to go to overtime, and the Commanders head coach deciding not to go for two late in the game, which could have actually had a steal victory by the Commanders. Would you not agree that the strength of the Commanders is their defensive line?
Oh, yeah. Great defensive line.
If you're Ron Rivera and the Washington defense coordinator, who I should know off the top of my head, but I don't.
Jack Del Rio.
Oh, of course. How do I not know Jack Del Rio? If you're those guys in meetings this week, are you not putting out the sentiment that Nick Sirianni after the game the other night said, if everybody else can do it in the National Football League, why don't they go ahead and do it? Nobody else can do it.
By the way, did you see Minnesota attempt the Tush Push?
Yeah.
It is the worst version ever. I put it out closed circuits.
I wholeheartedly agree with Sirianni. He's right. The Eagles do it to perfection. Everyone else in the league does it laughingly bad. Yeah. I can say that here on Bird Street 65 because I'm not going to motivate any Washington Commanders this week. But when Sirianni does it with a smile on his face and then looking sideways for emphasis, by how much better the Eagles are than anybody else. You don't think that gives added motive to the opposition this week?
Not at all. I think it gives added ammunition to the fan base. Not at all. Not zero. First of all, memo to the again, I talk about all the bad organizations. Memo to the NFL. I'm not talking about TV people, radio people, fans. I'm talking to NFL teams. If you have a quarterback that's a power lifter, if you have a guard with the power of Landon Dickerson, and you have a Hall of Fame center, knock yourself out. Go tush push all day long. If you don't have that, you might as well not waste your time. The assumption that teams think they're going to be good at it is the one that they should have an issue with. I would say this about Nick. Nick said something yesterday that I loved, and it's in a similar vein of what you were talking about. I kind of told you all week that he felt a little bit, I don't know, I don't even know the word. He felt people were blowing up Mike McDaniel too much.
Shortchanged?
Yeah. And thank you. Shortchanged. He felt a little bit shortchanged. And I think it was John Clark, our buddy, who got a video of him coming off the fields, and he screamed something, "Stop doubting the Eagles," screaming his typical over the top, excitement. And then he said something to Bob Lang. I couldn't even hear what he said, who's the Eagles PR guy. And Zach Berman asked him about it yesterday, and he's very honest about it. And he said, I think we kind of went into that game as an underdog. Well, as you pointed out, they weren't an underdog in the real world. Now, I talk about this all the way back to Super Bowl 52. Doug did this. We're underdogs. They had the mask. Everybody said it. And I said from day one, you've heard it was all bullshit.
No,
they were underdogs.
They were actually underdogs in every game they played that year in the playoffs.
But he used it, and as I said, when I'm not talking in a literal sense. I'm talking that Doug used it as nobody respects us, nobody believes in us. No, it had to do with your quarterback being injured. You were favored in every goddamn game up to that point. Everybody knew you were the best team in football. Nobody was disrespecting the Eagles. They just didn't believe in a backup quarterback. So that part was true. However, what Nick said, and I love this point. I got to pull it up. You know what? Sometimes I feel like we play better when we feel like the underdog, whether that's noise that we hear and we use it as motivation, or noise that we make up. Whatever we need to do, we'll look for any edge we can get.
Right. And here's what I'm saying.
Johnny,
I'm just saying this.
Man.
If you want to dismiss it, go ahead and dismiss it. I think there'll be noise made up in the commander locker room this week about how the fact that the Eagles can convert the tush push on anybody. That all they have to do is line up, and it's a foregone conclusion that they're getting a yard and a half, and going to get a first down. I'm just saying that if they do it going forward, Dallas Goedert better get a good cover up on Jalen Hurts, because other teams are going to take affront to this and are going to try and make Jalen Hurts pay a price for going for it on third.
Well, they can. That part of it is you may very well be right. They can make up stuff and say, all right, let's try to fire up our guys. That part's a possibility. What I'm saying is, they're good at it. Go ahead, try to stop it. Go ahead. Everybody's trying to stop it. They can stop it against Minnesota. They can't stop it against the Eagles. There's a reason. Because the quarterback is a damn power lifter. Because Landon Dickerson can bench press 500 pounds, and because Jason Kelsey's stabby. If you take that out of the equation and it's Marcus Mariota and, I don't know, insert Brett Toth and have Julian Good-Jones at center, yeah, they're not going to be good at it. You can say whatever you want, but Dickerson's still out there. Kelsey's still out there. and a quarterback can still squat 600 pounds. So good luck. That's the whole point Nick is saying. That's his whole. That's why he's so confident in it.
And he should be confident in it, but I'm just a little nervous that he's airing his confidence on his sleeve a bit much. And the opposition, which is already noticing it, 11 kisses, might go even further. And that's something the Eagles can't afford. All right, Maaddi is a perfect guy to ask about this. Philly guy, national guy, is in a lot of different locker rooms and see how they play the motivational game and what guys say prior to games that they've been given to use as motivation and the like. You just finished saying Nick uses it. That's what he does with and he was able to spin a narrative that the Eagles were an underdog against the Dolphins this week, except for the fact that they weren't. Other than the fact that they weren't an underdog. Good on Nick making his players believe that they were an underdog against.
Well, I don't know if his players believed it. He believed it. But yeah, he felt disrespected with all the Mike McDaniel love.
We'll see if there is any of that aspect coming into the divisional rivalry game coming up on Sunday between the Commanders and the Eagles. Rob Maaddi, lead writer for the Associated Press for the NFL, is up next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to most to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News.
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
John McMullen, Jonah McDonald here with you on Birds 365. We got our guy Rob Maaddi checking in, who is still here in Philadelphia. If the text you and I have been exchanging are on point, you're sticking around for Game 7 tonight?
Yeah, I'm not sure, though, if I should show up. The Phillies have never lost a postseason home game at Citizens Bank Park when I'm not there. So they're like 18-11 or 12 when I show up, undefeated, 10-0 somewhere around when I'm not there. I'm guessing I should not be. I mean, I was in the building for the 08 World Series, but it's just the way it's worked out. So if they've never lost, I'm guessing I should just stay outside the bank.
Hold on. The Phillies just text me, your credential for tonight has been canceled. So that call has already been made for you.
I don't believe in, I'm not a superstitious guy, Rob. Just go. Go enjoy the Game 7 atmosphere. You have nothing to do with it. I'm in the firmly non-superstitious category. But I'm surprised I'm surprised you stuck around in Philadelphia because they locked us inside the Lincoln out of the Wells Fargo parking lot. So, that wasn't too home-like welcome you back to Philadelphia. But a quick thank you on air.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't walked 4,000 steps at 2 a.m. in probably 10, 15 years. So it was good to get a nice brisk walk around the entire complex, sports complex. It was a fun night.
Yeah.
That's why you come back to Philadelphia, to get those brisk walks in. You don't get that in Florida. You get
absolutely not.
Breeze strolls. All right. I need to ask you this question. John and I were just talking about this before you came on, and you're as good as there is to give us a national perspective because you're in different locker rooms covering the whole league. Motivation. What a coach can put in front of a team and use for motivation. Nick Sirianni said in his press conference yesterday, John just told us, we felt like we were the underdog. And even if we were underdog, we make up the fact that we're the underdog to use us to get us to motivate the team for a given game, which worked perfectly against the Dolphins. And they beat a fellow 5-1 team. Are other teams going to use the fact that Nick Sirianni was kind of dismissive of everybody else in the league when it comes to the Tush Push this week? And he said, we can do it. Anybody else can't do it. Don't be banning it just because we can do it. Nobody else can do it. He's kind of given a backhander to the rest of the league in the fact that this is a play that can't be stopped. And oh, by the way, he's right. The numbers say he's right, but do you emphasize that? Do you keep bringing that up? Do you do it with a smirk, a smile, and a laugh when you talk about it? Nationally broadcast press conferences? Can other teams use this as motivation against the Eagles going forward?
Well, he certainly was feeling himself a little bit on Sunday night after that big victory. And I understand the underdog mentality that they came in with because the hype and the talk about Mike McDaniel being the second coming of, Sean McVay, because every year it's a new young coach, right? It's Sean McVay, it's Brandon Staley, who hasn't done a damn thing in the NFL. Now it's Mike McDaniel. Kyle Shanahan is always overhyped, and he hasn't won a Super Bowl either. But in regards to the tush push, the brotherly shove, no, he's right. Nobody else can do it. And one thing about motivation and bulletin board material, guys, if you need that in the NFL, you're playing the wrong sport. If you need it in any sports, you're playing the wrong sport. You should always have enough motivation without bulletin board material or any of that stuff. I don't think, Jody, what he said on Sunday night is going to get teams to be suddenly figure out a way to stop the Eagles and the way they execute the quarterback sneak and figure out a way to stop how effective they.
I'm not even talking about stopping it. I'm talking about someone taking a shot at Jalen Hurts.
It's hard to me. I think it's going to be really hard to be able to figure out for the way the Eagles execute that play. Somebody could take a shot depending on whoever it is and how dirty of a player they are. We see like you can see some videos. I was just watching a video of one of the guys on the Niners last night hitting someone late with a knee. And there's cheap shots at the bottom of all kinds of piles, and it happens. And that's got to be the biggest concern, is that you don't want your quarterback to get injured, who, oh, by the way, is a little gimpy right now and is a little hobbled right now. And he's dealing with something clearly there. And they still did it, and they still did it effectively.
Yeah, he was feeling himself after that Dolphins game. He was very. In fact, it was your question, Rob. What was said? You asked about Jalen Hurts. And he went through the week.
I was glad he laid that out for me because it's been a couple of years now, and I haven't seen the stringing along of Come on, Nick. I read the transcripts. I see I know how it works. I see how it is. But you gotta ask that. I mean,
No, yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
Well, and we do. And he
Yeah.
used me, and he used Elliott, and he said, they're going to ask me, and I'm going to.
Did you do it though? Monday you followed up. I know somebody did.
Somebody followed up. I did
Yeah,
not. I was not burning my question on that, but I forget who asked him. I think Dave Zangaro. So I'll give Dave for throwing on the grenade. So
yes,
we did get, but Jalen's not expected to miss any time, but we'll see. I mean, he's not 100%, and how that affects him moving forward. The biggest news, obviously, is Kevin Byard coming here, Rob. I can't figure out this league. I've been saying it before you came on. They keep giving gifts to Howie Roseman. I get Tennessee's rebuilding. This is a 2-time All-Pro safety, 5-time captain, good guy off the field, leader in the locker room. Makes a lot of money, but Tennessee's paying it all because they already reworked his deal. Howie gets him for about $3 million, a little bit less. Any downside to this? And why does the NFL making things easier for the Eagles?
Howie's going to Howie. I don't see any downside to getting in a 2-time All-Pro safety, a player of his caliber, and not just what he can do and the versatility he brings on the field, but he's a veteran presence, a leader in the locker room. I don't expect him to step in and be that guy immediately, but I don't see any downside whatsoever to this trade. It's one of those classic, we look at it and go, Howie did it again, stole a player. I'm surprised Tennessee, after trading A.J. Brown, still even listens to Howie when he gives them a phone call.
Well, that was John Robinson. He already got John Robinson fired. Now he's going to get poor Rand Carthon fired.
Yeah.
Who's the number?
Rand's learning real quickly after that. But, hey, they're not going anywhere. Tennessee's not going anywhere. And if you can get a couple draft picks and figure out what you do with those at some point and parlay those and assets and draft capital and all that stuff, that's the kind of team that they are right now. They got to figure out their quarterback situation. But this is a great move for the Eagles. It's the one area that we knew that they had to upgrade entering the season, really. And then you look at some of the injuries throughout the year. They needed to go out there, find a guy. And I think it was all just a question of who would it be? Would it be Budda Baker? Would it be Justin Simmons from Denver? And they go and get another guy, high caliber, high quality player in Kevin Byard. And oh, by the way, he's got some Philadelphia connections, some Philadelphia tie. It seems like just the absolute perfect fit for the Eagles.
And see, here's a question I asked at the beginning of the show when John was rightfully so beating the snot out of Carthon, the Titans general manager. Is there no other team in the league that could use a Kevin Byard at this time? I'm assuming Carthon is good enough at his job that he offered him all around the league. No one else would come up with more than what Howie gave. Really? Was Byard worth that little? Is he not that significant? He's an upgrade, but is he slowing down from where he once was? Or is the Tennessee general manager not the only GM that doesn't know what the hell he's doing at this stage? I got to believe he tried to sell him as best he could. There wasn't a market for him, and how he gets to take advantage of that?
Yeah, no, I certainly think that Carthon offered his services around to everybody, and teams hold on to their draft picks and cherish those picks like gold.
Grim death, Rob. Grim death. Day 3 picks.
Yeah, it's crazy. A 5th and a 6th round pick, and you look at some of the deals that are made or around the league, and this one comes down to who's willing to part with anything and bring in a guy who, at this point in the season, you got to be a contender to want to make a deal like that. You can't be a bottom feeder team, a pretender or a hopeful. You got to be somebody who's an upper tier. So that limits kind of what the market was going to be. And the Eagles stepped up, and I don't think adding Terrell Edmonds really mattered much to the trade other than giving them a body right now, a veteran body. But they were able to do that, and good for the Eagles, good for Howie. And we'll see how it plays out. But I certainly think that this is going to help bolster the defense, and we all do.
I see a little bit, Rob, of an NBA mentality that have seeped into the NFL especially with younger GMs, as you just pointed out. And they're, it's basically, we're not ready to win, so let's go the opposite direction. Let's look at Caleb Williams in the draft. Try to go about it that way. I don't think you need to do that in football. I think, there's a lot of ways to win in professional football. You don't have to get the superstar. Now you need a quarterback. That part's fair. But do you think that the league is going? Do you agree with that sentiment that there's too much sort of? I don't want to use the word tanking, but couch it any way you want. Do you think it's shifting in that direction too much?
I've seen where some teams are looking ahead to next year. Let's put it that way. And looking ahead to next year means you may not necessarily put your best foot forward. I think towards the end of last season, the Colts were kind of in that position. And there was thought about, the Cardinals are going into this year and they're going to be all in. But yet Jonathan Gannon somehow gets his team to play hard. They're playing hard every week. And I don't know that they are in tank mode despite what the thought process was. I agree with you in the NFL. There are a variety of ways to go from worst to first. And it does start to me at the quarterback and the coaching positions. And if you're able to bring in a guy who's a difference maker at quarterback, if you're able to get a head coach who quickly changes the culture, he had some talent obviously in place, but what Doug Peterson did in Jacksonville, you get a Super Bowl winning head coach who spent a year out of the league, who left Philadelphia after a terrible 2020 season, and he inherits Urban Meyer's mess in Jacksonville, and he quickly turns them into a division champion and a team that wins. So they brought in the right coach and had a mix of talent already. Now they got the quarterback the year prior, so it's a combination, and that's why the quarterbacks are getting paid the money they are, and that's why head coaches are getting more and more, certainly more and more money. And the turnover at head coach is so rapid, because if you don't get that job done in 2 years, 3 years, you're out the door, and they're going to bring in the next big thing, the next hot thing to try and turn that around. So I don't see teams having to go full tank mode in the NFL. You just have to figure out a way to get the right QB coach combo, one or the other.
All right. I need to have you give me a rating, 0 to 10. 0 being, what the hell was Howie Roseman thinking? 10 being, this guy's going to get to stand at the top of the bus, in the front of the bus, after the parade going down Broad Street when Eagles win it all this year. The acquisition of Julio Jones, 0 to 10. Where do you put it?
It's 6.
Oh,
I don't think you have anything to lose bringing in Julio Jones. My concern with Julio, getting to see him last year in Tampa, is his availability. Not his availability on Sunday, but his availability on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. He didn't practice much. He had a lot of veteran days off.
Then he'll fit right in with the Eagles.
Yeah, he had a whole
lot of walkthroughs.
And
that's for a walkthrough, right?
That's the problem. If you can't build chemistry with Tom Brady in Tampa, it's going to be hard to build chemistry in Philly with Jalen Hurts. So if he's healthy, if he's available, if he can go out there and practice and get 15, 20, 30 plays and understand, and he can be an asset. He's certainly not the Julio Jones who's making tremendous one-handed catches in the Super Bowl that should have cinched that win for Atlanta, only to have.
By the way, that would be one of the legendary plays in NFL history if they win that game. That was and that was a footnote. Yeah.
Yeah, it really was. And they end up blowing that one. But he's still, to me, got a talented wide receiver who is a upgrade at that position right now. But my only concern is he going to be available? Is he going to go out? How long before the ankle, the hamstring, the groin, something happens? But I think it was worth a shot.
Yeah, I don't think there's any downside. I think Julio becomes important if AJ or Devontae sprain an ankle. Then that's when I think maybe he can have a bigger impact. The Eagles just don't have room for traffic. They have too many playmakers as it is. So I don't know how much he can put his stamp on this offense. But I don't know if you watch Monday Night Football, Rob. Go ahead.
John. You were there. He was in your neck of the woods last year about Tampa not being available and the like. Did he ruffle any feathers when he was no better than the third or fourth option in the passing game? You got your 2-star wide receivers down there. Was he a disruptive force at all?
No, that doesn't happen when TB12 is in a locker room. He makes sure.
And by the way, I don't think he's going to complain. I think from the standpoint, there's one football. I don't think there's going to be many opportunities, barring injury, for him to contribute. I don't think Julio's going to create waves. I just don't see where the traffic is going to be there for him. But I wanted to bring this up, and I brought it up to Jody because she has so many contacts around the league, Rob. About 100 times on Monday Night Football. I don't know if you watched last night. And it's not, it's TV. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman do a tremendous job. They probably said it 100 times. Oh, if Minnesota loses this game, they're probably going to sell. But if they win the game, they're not going to sell. Please tell me NFL GMs aren't basing long-term decisions on 60 minutes of football. That can't be true. Please tell me.
They can't, and you shouldn't, and you would not be doing your job very well if you allow that to determine. Now your Minnesota Vikings, you're at 3-4 in a division where it's a long shot with the Lions at 5-2, barring significant injuries to key players. You're not going to win that division. You may compete for the final wild card spot, but are you going to go all out buy mode to compete for the 7 seed? You shouldn't. You shouldn't do that. So I think those are comments that sometimes it's you look at the standings, you look at the trade deadline date, and you put that together, and that'll be said this weekend about a bunch of teams that are right there in the mix. Oh, if they lose this game, they're gonna go full. I don't believe that GMs, team presidents, the whole front office can do that, and they know better. They have a bigger, clearer picture. Now, some teams may have been in a position where they've had guys who were injured, they've had guys who were down that they may be getting back. They get it right around that 500 mark. They got a shot to bring in a player, but it's not a guy who's a free agent at the end of the season, who's a one and done, or maybe someone who's under contract who they can keep around. Then you make that move. But I think it's foolish for GMs to go out and make their trade deadline acquisitions based on, oh, well, we won this game, so now we're back in it.
Maaddi, man, do you do a weekly power ranking?
No, I think they're silly. I do a weekly power ranking that's unofficial when I just feel like tweeting something out.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do power rankings.
Good for you, Rob.
They don't they don't mean anything. You look at it, the Bills kept popping up on teams 1 and 2 a few weeks ago, and I'm like, why? Why are you putting any Bills, Dolphins? You're putting them ahead of. It should always been Eagles and Niners, and now it's clear. It's Eagles and Kansas City. And that's the Eagles, Niners, and the Chiefs were the 3 teams coming in, and they are the 3 teams right now. And last night's loss by San Francisco at Minnesota certainly drops them a peg.
Oh, by the way, and I love doing this, the ESPN Power Index, which every week I have to go and check it, and I have to read how they actually go about it. It's computer-based and 10,000 simulated games played or whatever. They still have Buffalo number 1. The Bills now have 3 losses, not 2, 3 losses, but they still have Buffalo as the number 1.
What is the criteria here?
I don't understand it. I read it every week to try and figure it out, Rob, and I can't do it. It doesn't make sense to me. I might not be the brightest guy in the world, but I'm also nobody's fool.
What does that tell you about analytics right there? If that's all analytical based, then you can take your analytics and flush them down the toilet.
Exactly. Ridiculous.
What did since you watched the game, what did that game tell you about the San Francisco 49ers? They didn't have Trent Williams, they didn't have Deebo Samuel. 2 losses in a row. Brock Purdy, people talk about turnover-worthy plays. All of a sudden, there's a couple turnover-worthy plays that are getting caught by the opposition. Any concern about the 49ers?
I love Brock Purdy, but I didn't buy into the MVP candidate stuff 2 weeks ago. And 2 weeks later, after they lose 2 games, and you see how he performed last week after losing McCaffrey and Debo, and this week without Debo and Trent Williams, certainly not a guy who's going to elevate everyone else around him. He's someone who is, I hate the term game manager. He's better than a game manager. He makes good decisions most of the time, although I've seen him make a lot of dangerous passes. He did that last night. 2 were picked. He got away with some a little bit earlier in the season. So he certainly was missing Debo, certainly was missing Trent Williams. And the difference for me between the 49ers and the Eagles is it's a quarterback position. Jalen Hurts can go out there and win you a game. Brock Purdy has not shown that he can go out there and win a game. They win plenty of games with Brock. He's got a ton of talent around him, but he hasn't elevated his game to where this guy's down, that guy's down. All right, fellas, ride on my shoulders. I'm going to take you out there, and we're going to win this football game. He's not there yet. I don't know when he'll get there or if he'll get there. 49ers got a stingy defense. They got a ton of playmakers, but they need them all healthy. Most teams do. If the Eagles lost A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith or Dallas or whoever, they're going to go out there and struggle too. I think it's going to come down to that December 2nd, 3rd, whatever day it is, matchup. That'll determine who's going to be the home field advantage in the NFC title game. And I could see the Eagles losing that one to the Niners in Philly. 49ers are all motivated. They get their revenge, and then the Eagles go to San Fran in the NFC title game and win that one. I could certainly see that happening.
Do you think, and last one, Rob, thanks as always for hopping on when you do. Do you think the Purdy MVP conversation, and I'm asking you to jump into the head of other media members and the like, which you may or may not be desirous and or willing to do you think part of it was that it's just boring to say, oh, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP again? It's kind of like Michael Jordan, Karl Malone wins the MVP. Why? Because we didn't want to give it to Michael again and again and again and again. Mahomes is the MVP again, is he not? As of right now, and I know it's kind of like power rankings, which not all of us like to do, and it can change every single week, and it should. Mahomes is the MVP again.
You certainly could make that argument. I think you could have made that argument for Tom Brady for so many years, Aaron Rodgers for so many years, and Brady, I think, only won 3, by the way. Which you look at the totality of his career, he should have won more. But you gave me a little thought there, Jody, since I handle all of that stuff. Maybe I will stress this year to voters: do not be bored. Vote for the best candidate possible. And that's the way it's got to be done.
I'm going to throw Lamar back in the mix, especially if Baltimore keeps playing. That is if they can be under the radar, they're under.
And I know quarterbacks keep winning it, but Christian McCaffrey's got to be in the conversation.
Oh yeah, Christian. 16 straight games with a touchdown. 16 straight games.
If he stays healthy, what he's able to do, it's just phenomenal for the running back position, and he's obviously a threat in the slot and everything else that he brings. And I know that voters have often used the Offensive Player of the Year as the award to give to the best non-quarterback, and they go MVP for quarterback, but he certainly belongs in the mix right now too.
I'll fly in the face of conventional thinking, and I know John will have my back because we talked about it. Myles Garrett deserves some consideration. I don't think he's going to get it. Defensive lineman's not going to win the MVP, but damn, off the weekend game that he had, he should at least be in the conversation, should he not?
Yeah, he should be. And I certainly emphasize that it doesn't have to be only a quarterback. It can be any player. And when someone says, well, this position, no one's won it since LT, I will remind folks that a kicker, Mark Mosley,
baby,
was the NFL MVP. So
straight ahead kicker too.
Hope. Yeah. You should give hope to any player at any position. If a kicker can be the MVP of the NFL. It was in a strike shortened, lockout shortened, whatever year. I think that the Washington Redskins at the time were 8-2 or 9-2, whatever, on their way. But yeah, he was the MVP. Everybody should be on the table. Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons was in the conversation at some point along last season, and there's always been, well, if anyone's ever going to win it, Mike is going to be the defense. Hey, let's, like you said, let's not discount Myles Garrett.
One of the great marriages of all time, Myles Garrett with Jim Schwartz. The tremendous bit. At Rob Maaddi, make sure you follow Rob on Twitter. Does a tremendous job. Go to Game 7, Rob. I'm advocating that. And speaking of, did you see Myles jump over the line of scrimmage, block the field goal?
Yes. Incredible play. But by the way, Gardner Minshew put up some numbers against that Jim Schwartz defense, and 30-plus points and 400-plus total yards. So after they were number one coming in, they got a taste of the Minshew mania.
Yeah, but Minshew couldn't beat the former Owl, P.J. Walker, coming up big for the he used to be in class with my daughter. That's why I root for her.
Real quick. Is Dallas a legit concern for the Eagles in your mind?
I thought so coming in when I picked them ahead of the Eagles in the division, but I see too many. I see too many warts. I see too many problems right now with the Cowboys. I don't have that confidence and belief in Dallas that I did coming into the season. Plus, I thought, I wanted to pick someone different because nobody's won a division consecutive years since the Eagles from 01 to 04. But right now, I don't have real concern with anyone in the division. The Eagles only beat themselves if they can stay healthy. The biggest concern's got to be what's up with Jalen's knee. I don't think it's anything significant since he went back out there and performed. You're not going to mess around with the franchise if there's a thought. There's some guys who've told me what they think it could be. I don't want to put it out there because it's always speculation. It's not anyone who's diagnosed him, but there's some certain types of things with the knees that you can play through and may or may not get worse. But that to me is the bigger concern than anything any other team can do.
What do you think of McCarthy as a play caller?
He's a little different of a play caller when he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers under center.
Everybody is.
Right? Helps make you be a better play caller. That to me is something, who I spoke to Tony Pollard about this, and he said the difference between Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore is that you have to be on your details more. You have to be. So it suggests that he's a lot more detail oriented. And maybe it takes a little bit of time for some of those guys to get in sync with all of that when you got a lot of terminology and things of that nature.
Well, we'll see about the Cowboys. That's coming up in just a couple of weeks. And we're going to get you back in a couple of weeks. If you're heading over to Citizen Bank Park, enjoy. They better win. Otherwise, we're going to give you grief on Birds 360.
Not me, man.
I am. If I find out you're going, you got to text me and say, send a picture from the park and say I'm there. I'm going to give you props if they win. I'm going to bury your ass if they lose.
And if you need a ride, just text me. I owe you one.
You got it, fellas. Take it easy.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
thanks, bud.
Thank you.
Rob Maaddi, lead writer for the NFL for the Associated Press. And I forgot. Yeah, he's the organizer of the MVP stuff. And I meant what I said. And this is no knock on Jalen. Jalen's having a good year, a very good year. Slightly down from his MVP level year last year. And there's a whole bunch of reasons and explanations for that. Mahomes is the MVP again.
You're right about Michael, though. Yeah, they just gave it to other people because they were tired.
They got tired of it. We got to give it to him again.
Yeah.
Let's give it to Karl Malone.
Yeah. Some of that same with LeBron as well. LeBron should have wanted a bunch more as well. Some of the similar sentiment. People get tired.
Every MVP voter will look you in the eye and tell you, no, I didn't vote that way. And I'll look them in the eye and go, I don't believe you.
Yeah, you did.
He's McMullen. I'm McDonald, coming back here to put a bow on the show on Birds 365.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
We're here to show you a better way to spend your state income taxes and get the money to where it's needed to move to the thousands of qualified kids.
What we like about Blocks is they really know where the need is.
This program ensures that their dollars come 100% into these kids for their tuition assistance.
If you are able, Blocks makes the EITC piece go very quickly and very smoothly.
Turn your PA state tax liability into need-based scholarships and receive a 90% tax credit.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
EAGLES, Eagles.
You got Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. Johnny Mac's got interview duties today. You get coordinator conversation, right? If there's a guy who could peacock this week for the Eagles, I would suggest Sean Desai.
Sean Desai. This is why I like the Eagles. As opposed to 3/4 of the league that I said, and they beat people on foundational principles alone. Like they're coming off a game where they gave, they're playing a team that averaged almost 500 yards and 37 points, and they gave up 244 yards and 10 points. And they said, nope, we got to get better. They're not swayed by 60 minutes of football. Because things go and games have personalities and guys are injured and things are that. They know they're not good enough at safety. They've known they're not good enough at safety. They make a move. That's the foundational stuff I'm talking about. They don't get messed up in individual games and what happens on a particular 60 minutes. They do that, and the next day they go out and get a 2-time All-Pro safety.
That's pretty good on Howie Roseman's part. Kevin Byard will be here, and they're going to have to get him up to speed. He's got to play this week, right, John? When you trade Edmonds, who played 100% of the snaps, did he play every snap on defense?
Well, Reed might be back. We got to see. So it might not be that much of a necessity. If Reed is able to get back, then you have Reed and Sidney Brown. But they want to get Kevin Byard up as quickly as possible. I mean, this is a veteran player. They might have him on he's been playing. That's one thing they said, Josiah Scott versus Julio Jones. One had been practicing, one hadn't.
Right.
So they had Julio on a pitch count, not as much with Josiah. Kevin obviously has been playing. So
same thing with Roby. That's why they didn't have Roby out there for every single snap his first weekend. They wanted to build him back up.
Yeah.
Now they've got him in, he got hurt, and that's unfortunate. But yeah, Byard. He's been playing every snap for it's not going to be a conditioning thing. It's just they get up to speed with the way the Eagles play type thing. Would not be surprised if he plays a lot more than any of the other new Eagle additions during the year. All right, brother. You going to do this again with me tomorrow?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, McMullen and McDonald will be right back here with you on Birds 365 in 2 and 2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.